Hello and welcome to the Ask Weldon Show, episode 96. Only 4 more episodes to go till episode 100. I can't wait, and I don't really know what to do. So if you have an idea, leave a comment down below and give me some suggestions. I suppose I could do a giveaway of some sort. Not really sure. Okay, first question comes from I'm Stalgia, and they ask, I'm mid-challenger. When I scrim with challenger teams, I feel like I forget how to play, and I'm really nervous. Okay, really good question. So essentially, this is the difference between training and performance, training and stage. And the human body is activated by performance in a way that it's not activated by training. And so you have to expect that as you find yourself in performance situations, there's essentially 2 ways forward through that. One is that you become so accustomed to them that they don't cause the same change in you as much anymore. And an example of that is if you just play ranked and nothing else, then eventually ranked won't feel like ranked anymore. It won't feel like that pressure of performance. It'll just feel normal. It's just like a normal game. Then you only get that pressure like when you step up and you're scrimming with a challenger team. But if you scrim all the time, then scrimming stops feeling like performance, because actually it's not. And then it's not really, doesn't feel like performance again until you, like, for example, play in a LAN. And then for some people who play LANs all the time, start playing in a LAN, even for like big results, or maybe mediocre or small results, doesn't really feel like performance anymore because they do it so much. And then they step on stage and it feels like performance. So one thing that your brain can do is just get accustomed to that performance, and the consequent drop in the reaction of your body will just make it more at ease. So just scrim more with challenger teams. The second thing you need to realize is that the ability to cope with that kind of physiological change is really essential, and it's a skill you can train by practicing coping, because eventually you'll get to a performance level that is just performance, where you cannot accustomize yourself to it, that you're stepping on stage and you're stepping on stage, period, and you're never going to kind of get over the feelings that give you that rush or that awareness. But that's not a bad thing. In fact, those are useful chemicals, adrenaline and breathing rapidly to get more oxygen into your body and all these sort of things. So you need to be able to cope with them and lean into them and use them to heighten your awareness instead of having it cause you to be distracted by what your body is doing and causing you to perform worse. So try to funnel a little bit that fuel, that energy into your actual performance. And one way that I suggest that people get used to that is ramping up the pressure on themselves in a non-pressure situation. So you get into a training environment, you get to a scrim, and you let the pressure kind of like weigh on you, and you force it to scale up the importance of the moment. So you're like, okay, this trade, this like level 2 trade, this is everything, and I have to execute on it. And you put that pressure on yourself, and then win or lose the trade, you deal with the results of that kind of in the game, and you practice it. So if you lose the trade, you're like, okay, got to focus, got to move forward, got to move to the next one. Or if you win the trade, you're like, okay, don't get distracted by the victory. And those are kind of like mental and physiological, so biological and bioneurological, like coping techniques or skills that you need to compete at a high level. Good luck. Okay, next question is from Daniel Failer, and he asks, how many solo queue games are too many if I'm trying to go pro? Should I give up if I have played 2,000 games and only peaked at Diamond 1? Okay, so there's a big difference between playing games and training and learning. So my guess is that although you have played 2,000 games, the games in which you have trained yourself and learned from are much less. And it might even be that you play a game and you learn, at 2 or 3 discrete moments, but then the other 47 minutes of the game, you reinforce bad habits, or reinforce no habits, or just kind of like, I say bad habits, but really just the habits you're doing. If you're not pushing your limit, it's just what you're doing. It's like the same play level, right? So I think playing more is always better if you're activated, if you're into the training. But the thing that you should be looking at is your system of play. It doesn't really matter how many games you play, you're not going to get better. I mean, there are people who've played 3,000 games and are still in bronze. All right? So, and there are people who've played 1,000 games and are challenger, who are pro. So you have to realize that there's not some sort of magical mysticism going on here, that you have to find out what it is that you're missing, whether it's self-criticism or being able to make yourself focus or challenging yourself or VOD watching or whatever it is that you're missing in your kind of retinue in terms of growth. That's where you need to be operating on, not just like sheer volume at this point. Next question is from Lucas Stilho 98, and he asks, how can I reset my mindset for the next game? My skill level usually falls after a few games. I would appreciate your help. So if you listen to the first question of this show, you would have heard me talk about how you have this like heightened sense of awareness when you are in a competitive situation that forces all these chemicals to rush to the surface, and you get adrenaline, you get focus. And then you can accustom yourself to that over years of competition, and it kind of drops down a little. The reaction is not as snowbally. And the same thing happens in a training day. So you come in, the very first play, you're sharp. The 50th play, you're not sharp. You cannot fool your brain into your brain you cannot fool your brain that like the 50th time that you do something, that it's some unique snowflake special one chance in a million moment that the rate of the world is resting on. Because your brain just saw you like do this thing 49 times, and it knows that probably after you fail or succeed this trade or like this gank, the next one you do, like the world is not going to end. Okay, it's not that important. Then there's going to be another one or another game. So it's really hard to kind of ramp up that focus on the conscious side when on the unconscious side your brain is not an idiot. Okay, therefore you have to kind of understand this phenomena that the brain is inherently lazy in terms of things that are not unique. And there's two things you should do. One is designing the environment. So it's like the hacking thing, where you want to find ways of making that moment more unique, whether you vary your training environment and ramp it up by training like at a special place, like a LAN cafe. You go there when you are ready to sit down and perform, and that kind of amps you up for the whole day, the whole training block. Or whether it's like you play 2 games and you take a break, and then you're like, okay, if I don't win this next game, I don't get to play a 4th game, and you kind of actually give yourself consequences. There's various ways of like hacking your environment, hacking your training to kind of put that false sense of kind of empowerment onto the situation, or accountability onto the situation, that can fool your brain more or less until it gets used to it, and then it stops working, and then that thing stops working again. So then the second thing that you should do is the non-hacking solution. So that is to learn how to focus consciously, even when the back part of your brain, the subconscious part of your brain, is not confused at all about what's going on and is trying to be lazy. And that is through more kind of rigorous focus training techniques. Things like imagery, goal setting, mindfulness training is probably one of the best ones. Just sitting there and getting really clear with what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it and why it's important, wiring up your actions to your values. Yeah, so there's various ways of doing that. Obviously, I have had the most success with mindfulness conditioning because it is probably the most premier way to train your legitimate focus in a transferable way, in a way that works from activity to task to art to skill, whatever it is that you're doing. But then within the game, there are various ways of kind of forcing yourself to always engage and catch yourself when you are not focused, and kind of put your attention back where it belongs and not be distracted, which leads to the kind of full focus and less mistakes that you're looking for. That helps. Okay, Zelan this 89 asks, is there any advice you can give for someone with tremors that get worse while playing League? So I'm assuming you have tremors like as a medical condition all the time, and then they get worse when playing League of Legends. I have no medical knowledge whatsoever, so my ability to assist you in what it is that aggravates your tremors or doesn't aggravate them isn't very large. But playing ranked League of Legends can give people tremors. Even if they don't have tremors, they can be shaking. So it could be the added adrenaline, the biochemical response to competition, to performance, is what's causing the ramp up in intensity of what's going on. So I would do a couple things. First of all, I would check out the book Top Dog, Science of Winning and Losing, which I recommend in my mailing list, which you can sign up for down below, by the way. And in that book, they go through a little bit of what this cocktail is like and how it's pretty much unavoidable. And they give kind of like a layman's view inside what's going on in your body. So that might start piquing your interest about understanding what kind of chemicals are causing you to get increased jitters or tremors. The second thing you can do is talk to your doctor and ask them, if you have one for your tremors, what kind of alternative medicine kind of coping mechanisms seem to work best for your condition that have been used by people like athletes or other people in lives where they need to be able to control this. And you'll probably find things like meditation, mindfulness, prayer, various like oils and like massage. I don't know, probably lots and lots of different therapy options that people can use to like kind of like cope mentally with what's going on or physiologically, and then just start exploring that world. I mean, that's a world that I'm not familiar with, but I'm sure that there's content out there that has information that you can use. Next question is from Dirty Taxman, and I really don't like you. My microplay has, like, I don't know you personally, but if you're a dirty taxman, then not only are you taking my money, but you're also dirty, so you're spending it on whatever the heck you want and kind of cheating the system and just bribing people with it. So, dirty, dirty, dirty. My microplay has increased greatly, but I'm suffering from bad decision making or performance anxiety. How do I train this away? Good question. Really good question. Okay, so this is really similar to like the very first question. Performance anxiety is exactly what it is. You get anxious when you perform, period. And if you listen to the first question, then I'll just repeat the answer here in a summary form for everybody to kind of clarify what was going on there. The first thing you want to do is look at your environment and do the things that you need to do to kind of reduce the snowballing effect of anxiety. So you can play lots and lots and lots and lots of games, and then each one matters less and less and less to your brain, and then it's not performance anymore. So that's like the easy man's out, because then when you get into a performance situation again, you don't really have the tools or the coping skills to handle that. But it does solve your problem in terms of like your ranked play, for example. The second thing you can do is analyze what's going on when you feel performance anxiety and understand that the kind of nervous energy that is pile driving through your body only is distracting you because you're letting it distract you. That you are taking that and you're letting your thoughts be run away and fired away onto like a myriad of different things. Like, am I nervous? Am I going to make this work? Usually it's results focused or outcome focused. Like, am I going to screw this up? What are people going to think about me? What is going to happen if I lose this third promo match? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And that's what you're thinking about, and then you're not paying attention to what matters, which is the performance in the game, and then you make a mistake. So you're literally stepping out of flow, purposely, not purposely, but accidentally, and reducing your own performance as a result. And what you need to do is be able to either banish or, in a better way of describing it, like ignore those thoughts as they come. So they come and you accept them, whatever, but then you don't dwell on them, and you immediately move your focus or attention back to the job, I would say, of performing. And that enables you to put your focus to where it needs to be to reduce errors. So that's the actual skill that you need. And you can get that by practice, just by going through it over and over and over again and analyzing what's happened and being like a really strong competitor and having a mentor and having a good social support network and understanding that the outcomes don't break you, and then just leaning into that pressure. If your parents raised you to be, kind of like, I want to say, have high willpower, be like mentally strong, or you can kind of build that up in yourself on purpose by things like gratefulness conditioning, which I use the 5-minute journal, which is linked down below, or things like mindfulness, which is a way of training your attention to kind of be grabbable and draggable, so that wherever it is at a given time, you can take it and you can bring it back to where it needs to be. Good luck. And the final question for today is from Chivas Lowell. I think you had a question earlier that I answered, maybe. I'm not sure. And they ask, is there any way to get my team and myself into doing the MAC program, which is my training program linked down below, as a group rather than individuals? Pros and cons of doing it this way. Yes, you can do it as a group. Actually, you can message me about group pricing, but it doesn't matter. There's not a lot of pros, and there are a lot of cons of doing it this way. The pros are that you have an accountability group, an accountability partner, and you can talk about it, and you can apply it in your kind of team's structure. The cons are many, in that you're going to tie your doing it to other people instead of doing it to yourself. You're going to start feeling annoyed when like your teammates aren't doing it and you are, or you're not doing it, your teammates are. So you're going to add another like thing of like a riff within the team. It doesn't really matter if you do it as a team or not. It's an individual long-term project, so it's not going to affect your team's performance over the like 3-6 month window. Like it's going to affect your team's performance over the 1 year, 2 year. It's going to affect your performance over your lifetime. So it doesn't really have an impact like on the group setting at the moment, because you need to pair it with leadership and accountability and coaching in the moment to bring out the kind of skills that it's like engendering. So yeah, I don't think I would recommend it. I would say like make this your own kind of personal development plan, personal development ambition, and use it, take the lessons you learn into your team environment, dwell on them and ruminate on them, and figure out how it is that you can become a better person within your team as it is, fulfilling roles that aren't fulfilled, taking responsibility that is be taken, taking accountability and blame when others don't, stepping up in terms of like your levels of morality and justice, and empathy and accountability and motivation, like outward motivation, and use the program to kind of like become who you should be as a leader, and use the environment to practice those skills in. That's what I would recommend doing. But doing it as a team to try to increase your performance, there's much better things to do, like improve your drafting, improve your training routine, improve your VOD review, like VOD review. So those things will have a much more drastic impact in the immediate short term than doing this, which is like a long-term developmental tactic, or like an optimization, like top 1% kind of tactic. But my guess is if you're not a professional team, then you're not in the top like 0.1% of play anyway, which is where like the 16 top teams kind of reside. So it's not going to help to optimize. You're just going to lose to better players, no matter how in the zone you get. This is the thing I always tell the team. Doesn't matter if you're playing at the peak of your potential as an individual if the other person is just straight up better than you, even when they suck. Like even when they're playing badly. So first, get to the top of the hill. And you can get there faster by applying the techniques from my Mac program, for example. You can get there faster. You can make sure that you aren't like churning your wheels, spinning your wheels, and just like doing nothing when you train. But that's like an individual thing, because the other people on your team might be doing it for different reasons other than to become a pro. They might be doing it for fun or for entertainment or for various other stuff. So that doesn't have anything to do with them. Okay, that's my answer, and I hope that it's useful to you. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Look forward to 3 episodes from now when we get to 100. Maybe I'll be in Finland already by then for November, and I'll be able to do some sort of cool, I don't know, stream, like marathon, giveaway. We'll see what happens. Make a suggestion down below. Oh, right, and I have to plug my Mac program, although I've talked about it like twice on the show already today. But check out mindgames.gg/MAC, mindfulness, acceptance, commitment. Trains you to be mindful and accept things and commit. And you can read all about it on that page. There's testimonials there as well, and I think that you will find it to be very useful for whatever kind of craft you're attempting, whether it's music to video games to esport, or whatever kind of self-hurdle you're trying to overcome, whether it's motivation for study, perfection in your relationship, which by the way is impossible, but nice to aspire to, or even parenting, which are realms which I have used this myself personally when testing and developing it over the last 4 years. Oh, and sign up for my mailing list, because then you'll get a notification every week about the coolest stuff I find around the internet as I'm kind of like tootling around on my own and watching nice videos and reading lots of blogs and testing lots of tools like this new camera that I got, and I just share with you there. Also my best of, so if you just discovered this and you're like, oh no, he has a list and I've missed it for the last year, don't worry. When you sign up, you'll get like my best of kind of delivered to your inbox in a very curated way, which will take you through stuff that will always be valuable, and then you'll also get kind of the weekly updates that I'm going to be sending. Ciao. Oh, and yeah, 5-minute journal. I'll also link that down below. For those of you who are looking at the simplest thing that has the most impact. So the smallest amount of time, simplest approach with the most drastic impact on your mental toughness, it's the 5-minute journal. It has the biggest impact on my life of anything that I spent the least amount of time on. And it is very, very rigorous in terms of how it's based on science with the gratefulness conditioning, which is something that, for example, is used by the US military, the Army. I'm not really sure about the other branches of the military, but at least the Army. See you next time.